What's up, dog, everybody? It's Torrential Downfall. Today, we're talking about a footballer. Well, ex-footballer. It's about a man who broke a certain theoretical ceiling, only for that glass to fall back on him. It's Justin Fashanu. In the late 70s, Fashanu was one of the futures of English football. Powerhouse at Norwich City, he has been remembered for scoring a 1980 goal of the season against Liverpool. If you haven't seen it, he's got his back to goal as the ball's rolled to him while he's on the right edge of the box, and he flicks it with his right foot, swivels, and volleys it with his left foot. Definitely worth a YouTube search. Even though when I was watching it, I don't think I could have saved it if I was in goal. But back to Justin. In 81, he made history. He moved from Norwich to Nottingham Forest for £1 million. That made him the first ever black player to go for such a fee. Might not seem a lot nowadays, but he was 20 years old, pioneering, on the field, seemed pretty much invincible. If Gittins can go for a fee of £50 million to Chelsea, you're looking at 80 mil minimum in today's market for Justin Fashanu. But again, now that he moved to Forest in 81, he encountered a manager, the very famous Brian Clough, who didn't really care so much about his talent, or should I say just his talent, but also his lifestyle, very similar to Alex Ferguson type of manager. Clough famously confronted Fashanu about rumours of him visiting gay bars, asking him, and again, this is just a quote of his, not something that we should repeat in today's world, but why do you keep going to that bloody puffs club? So that was kind of an indication of what life being gay in the 80s was like. For years, the press really circled onto him. Then in 1990, Justin did something that a lot of people didn't have the courage to do. He went to the Sun and came out. Now, for any of my international viewers, I'm not talking about the sun that's out in the sky. The Sun is a newspaper publisher here in the UK. But anyway, the headline that was produced by the Sun ended up being quite iconic, but also brutal. £1 million football star, I am gay. The media didn't treat this as a brave moment of honesty. They treated it as a scandal. They hounded him with stories of affairs and sensationalised his life until the man was buried under some caricature of the media's doing. The football terraces that were once filled with fans screaming his name, cheering his goals, became a place of relentless and pretty vile abuse. But the hardest things didn't even come from the papers, didn't even come from the fans. Some of the hardest things for Justin Fashanu to deal with were in his own home. His own brother, John Fashanu, a star for the Wimbledon Crazy Gang, publicly disowned him. John has, been known to, in the past as well as more recently, call Justin an outcast, and admitted to offering £75,000 just for Justin to keep his mouth shut. What was John thinking at the time? Well, he was worried Justin would tarnish the family name and the Fashanu brand. Again, even years after Justin's death, this shadow of Justin's sexuality remained. In a 2012 interview, John was still saying, "My brother wasn't gay, he was just an attention seeker." It wasn't until, much more recently, John expressed some guilt about the situation, admitting he'd ignored Justin's final phone call the night before he died. Leading us on to 1998, with Justin facing unproven allegations in the US and convinced he'd never get a fair trial, partly because of his sexuality, partly because of his race, Justin Fashanu took his own life in a garage in Shoreditch. He was 37. 37. And this is kind of where the media again brought out their two-faced nature. The same tabloids that printed scandals week upon week about Justin Fashanu, and even the same public that shouted slurs from the stands, all of a sudden pivoted. Today, Justin's a Hall of Famer. He's a martyr. He's the face of the Justin campaign against homophobia. We've turned him into a hero, but we've done it now that he's no longer here to get the respect he deserved while he was alive. Justin Fashanu didn't just play for Norwich or Forest. He played for a society that wanted his talent, but rejected his personality, rejected his humanity. His story is a reminder of the brutal cycle of the media. They vilify the pioneer. They love to profit from a downfall. And then they sell us a legend once the tragedy is complete. Maybe it's time for us to be better than the headlines. Maybe it's time to support some of these outcasts while they are still here to hear us. What do you think? Has football evolved to a place where it's a safer place for the likes of Justin Fashanu? Or are we still just chasing that next headline? Thanks for listening, and as always, as long as it hurts no one, do something kind for yourself today.